Liverpool are being lucky. Manchester City and Arsenal both had multiple injuries to their key players, while Arne Slot is enjoying a life with a fully fit squad. Guys, you probably heard these excuses from rival supporters recently, right? But what these people don't know is that sometimes you can make your own luck. It's the same luck that we didn't have last season when injuries and fatigue completely derailed our title charge. So what's changed? Why does this 2024/25 season feel so different, with our squad largely fit and firing while our rivals lick their wounds? Is it just luck, or did Liverpool secretly find a magic healing potion? Well, this is what we're going to dive into today. We'll explore the complete overhaul in how the club manages player fitness, from the medical staff to training methods, recovery protocols, tech, and even tactics. Let's break it down, not to stir any bad memories, but remember the injury nightmare Liverpool went through last season. It felt like every other week another key player pulled up hurt, right when we needed them most. In the 2023/24 season, a whopping 22 different Reds were sidelined by injuries, combining to miss a total of 362 games. It simply derailed our title charge because we went from 5 points clear in January to collapsing with 8 games left. The Reds actually suffered 35 significant injuries last season. That's more than Man City's 26 and Arsenal's 23. We also lost 1,383 player days to fitness issues, nearly double what City endured. Yet we didn't see anyone mention or talk about it last season, despite this issue being there for everyone to see. And now that we're gunning for the Premier League title, with other teams not capable of keeping up, we're being accused of being lucky. But again, we made our own luck, guys. So let us explain. First off, there's been a revolution behind the scenes at the AXA training centre. Arne Slot's arrival as head coach wasn't the only big change last summer. In fact, FSG took the opportunity to reset Liverpool's medical and performance department. That means some familiar faces from the Klopp era are gone. Longtime fitness guru Andreas Kornmeier and head of recovery Andreas Schlumberger, both key Klopp staff. Aslo left the club along with the manager. In their place, Liverpool promoted Dr. Jonathan Power to lead a unified medical and performance team as the new director of medicine and performance. Power had only joined as club doctor in 2023, but now he's overseeing everything with a fresh vision, and he's not alone. The club brought in Ruben Peters, formerly Feyenoord's head of physical performance, as our new lead physical performance coach. Peters is a sports science specialist renowned for his expertise in periodization, which is essentially the science of planning training loads to peak at the right times and avoid burnouts. At Feyenoord, his methods helped keep player availability above 90% for 3 straight seasons, contributing to one of the most successful medical departments in world football. No wonder Slot trusted him and brought him along to Anfield to help prevent the kind of injury crises we saw in recent years. The overhaul didn't stop there. Liverpool added Dr. Amit Panu as a new first-team doctor and reshuffled the physio team to get more specialised. The club actually split the physiotherapy staff into 2 branches, rehab and performance. This is a strategy other top clubs like Spurs and Chelsea use. Long-serving physio Lee Nobes is now head of rehabilitation physiotherapy, focusing purely on injury recovery, while Chris Morgan became head performance physio with the focus on matchday readiness. By dividing those roles, each aspect of player care gets dedicated attention treating injuries versus optimizing fit players, rather than one department trying to juggle it all. It's a more specialized, collaborative approach. As one former Premier League physio noted, big clubs are doing this to handle the workload and allow physios to focus on what they do best. Guys, the goal here is crystal clear. Change the way that medical and performance services are delivered at Liverpool. That line is literally from a job posting the club put out last summer, emphasizing building an innovative data-driven team to keep players in peak condition. To keep it short, guys, Liverpool's front office acknowledged things had to change, and they built a new backroom lineup to make it happen. Now, onto the training pitch, where the differences under Slot and his performance team are immediately obvious. Under Klopp, we used to hear the mantra, "Intensity is our identity, heavy metal football, relentless pressing." That brought success, but it also took a toll on player fitness over long seasons. Now, while Slot didn't throw Liverpool's identity out the window, as we still play high-tempo, exciting football, he just dialed down the constant full-throttle approach just enough to keep the players healthier. Ben Dinnery, a leading Premier League injury analyst, pointed out that Slot's style is a little bit more conservative than Klopp's, meaning we aren't pressing our players to the limit in every single game or training session. When you play 50 to 60 matches a year, those tiny adjustments make a huge difference. So let's explore how Slot and his staff do it. See above Slot and Peter's secret weapons is tactical periodization, integrating fitness management into the very fabric of training and match preparation. Every morning, Peters and his team hand Slot a dossier on each player's fitness and trust it as basically everything about the players. How they slept, their muscle soreness, training readiness, you name it. That sounds like it included some high tech, right? Well, it does. It's a data-driven approach where training loads are carefully planned day by day. Sessions still average around 90 minutes, but they're designed to be a bit less intense than in previous seasons. The focus is on quality and consistency over sheer volume. In fact, patience was the buzzword in preseason. Slot was often seen marching around with a whistle, barking at players to take their time and kill opponents with passes rather than just run themselves ragged. The idea is simple: control the tempo, even in training, instead of going full throttle every second. It's a big shift in philosophy, and while we're still working hard, we're doing it in a smarter way that doesn't break our own players. Liverpool's training days have also been tweaked to include more focus on recovery and prevention. For example, morning wellness checks are now routine, where players might do yoga or hit the hydrotherapy pools before a training session as a body wake-up ritual. This holistic approach, including breathing techniques and individualized gym programs, helps warm up the muscles and joints, reducing the chance of pulls and strains when proper training begins. It's like priming the engine before revving it, and those infamous triple training sessions or overloading days. Don't expect them now. Slot and his staff emphasize not overloading the players' bodies because rest and recovery have become as important as the workouts themselves. The proof is in the pudding. We're seeing far fewer training injuries or muscle tweaks compared to last year, which suggests this measured approach is working. Even when injuries do happen, and let's be real, you can't avoid them all in a contact sport, Liverpool's rehabilitation protocols have gotten a serious upgrade. Last season, we often saw a vicious cycle. A player rushes back from injury to help the team, only to break down again weeks later. It was maddening. Now, there's a conscious effort to not rush players' returns. Slot is remarkably patient with injured stars, which is also a luxury earned by our strong league position, but also a deliberate strategy. Diogo Jota, for example, was declared fit weeks ago. Yet Slot eased him back with very gradual increases in match minutes and even had him skip some training sessions to avoid setbacks. Alisson Becker, who has had recurring injury issues, was given extra weeks of recovery time even after he was technically fit to make sure he was 100% ready. The same with Harvey Elliott: no premature returns, no gambling on a half-fit player. This cautious approach is a stark contrast to the past, and it's paying off. We haven't seen those dreaded re-injuries as often this season. Behind the scenes, the medical team is leveraging state-of-the-art tech and facilities to aid recovery. Liverpool's AXA training centre in Kirkby is a world-class complex equipped with all the modern bells and whistles. We're talking hydrotherapy pools, cryotherapy chambers, and specialised sports rehab suites, all designed to get players back to peak condition faster and safer. The club's sports scientists use advanced data tracking for everything from training loads to sleep patterns. Players wear GPS vests and heart rate monitors, and the staff crunches that data to spot red flags of fatigue before they turn into injuries. It's a far cry from just relying on a coach's intuition. We've essentially modernized the whole player care system. Every player now has an individualized, integrated plan to keep them fit. And guess what, guys? It's not just within the training ground. Even at home, players are taking recovery to the next level. Fun fact, Mo Salah has a cryotherapy chamber and hyperbaric oxygen setup at his house to help him recover. Talk about dedication. Interestingly, Slot even changed some team routines off the pitch to reduce stress and fatigue. For years under Klopp, the squad would stay together in a hotel the night before home games. The idea was to build focus, but it also meant more time away from family and a fairly rigid schedule. Slot scrapped that policy, and now for home matches, players get to sleep in their own beds and spend pre-game nights with family if they want. You know, happy wife, happy life, as the saying goes. Slot is also generous with days off. When a rare free midweek popped up in the schedule, Slot gave the squad 3 days off to rest, which was a move almost unheard of in the past during the season. The players' bodies, and probably their families, loved it, and they came back recharged. Even during the season, if a player is suspended or not needed, Slot sometimes lets them take a short break. Alexis McAllister was suspended for a couple games, so he flew to the Swiss Alps for a mini vacation. Virgil van Dijk, Gravenberch and Salah were given time off when we played a lower stakes cup game, rather than dragging them along. All these decisions prioritize keeping the squad fresh long term, even if it means rotating or resting big names in the short term, which brings us to tactical changes and squad management on the field. One big reason Liverpool aren't picking up as many injuries is how Slot is managing minutes. We've got depth and he's using it wisely. The team practices sharing minutes, basically planned rotation. It's now routine to see Kostas Tsimikas come on for Andy Robertson in the second half of games almost every week. Similarly, Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai often alternate who starts, keeping both from getting overloaded. And in nearly every match, one of the front three is subbed off around the 60-minute mark to avoid burnout. This isn't random, by the way, it's Slot intentionally limiting how much strain each player accumulates. Even in huge matches, he's willing to trust the squad and think big picture. In the recent 2-0 win over Man City, for example, both Cody Gakpo and Diogo Jota started on the bench. They were effectively given the day off to keep them fresh for the long run. That's a bold move in a top-of-the-table clash, but it shows how much Slot values fitness management. And it worked. We won the game without needing to push every attacker, and those two got extra rest with Gakpo featuring for just 10 minutes. Under Klopp, it was often all hands on deck every game. Under Slot, there's more restraint and rotation. Even the style of play in matches has shifted subtly to protect players. Slot has Liverpool playing a more controlled game when needed. We still press and play at high pace, but we also know when to hold our shape and give ourselves a breather. In that City match, you could see it. We weren't chaotically chasing the ball in the final minutes. Instead, we kept a strong shape, picked our moments to press, and didn't force the players into lung-bursting sprints unnecessarily. This kind of game management means fewer players pulling a hamstring from a desperate last-ditch run. By not needing to push to their limits for every single point, as Dinnery puts it, Liverpool's reducing the wear and tear on the squad. It's a fine balance, really. We're still one of the fittest, hardest working teams in the league, but we're not overextending to the point of breaking. It's controlled intensity. All these changes, from the backroom revamp, smarter training, better recovery, to rotational tactics, have led to a remarkable improvement in our injury record. The numbers speak for themselves. At roughly the same stage of last season, Liverpool had suffered 19 time-loss injuries. This season, that number is down to 14. That's 5 fewer injuries, even though we've been competing on multiple fronts. In terms of injury rate, last season we had about 5.9 injuries per 1,000 minutes of football. Now it's around 4.3 per 1,000 minutes, which is a significant drop, showing how the risk has been mitigated. And perhaps the biggest difference of all, our key players are staying fit. Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk, Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister, none of these core starters have had a single injury absence so far this season. And obviously, keeping your star players on the pitch is half the battle in football, and in past years we weren't winning that battle. Previously, an injury to Salah or Virgil at a crucial moment could derail our whole campaign. Now they've been ever present, helping the team build consistency and momentum. Of course, we've had a few knocks, as Alisson and Trent each missed a few games, Konate had a spell out, and Jota had an issue, but crucially, we haven't seen the cascade of injuries or the long casualty list that haunted us before. No more injury crisis headlines at Anfield, touch wood. Opposition fans might snark that Liverpool have just been lucky this year with injuries. But the truth is, there's a lot of hard work and smart planning behind our improved availability. Luck always plays a part, football is a contact sport after all, but Slot and his team have absolutely earned credit for protecting the players. By modernizing the medical department, embracing sports science, and tweaking the way we play and train, Liverpool have engineered better luck, so to speak. The result is a healthier squad that's able to compete on all fronts without running on fumes. As of now, we're 13 points clear at the top of the Premier League and headed to a cup final, and a big factor is that we haven't had the kind of injury setbacks that derailed us last season. It's honestly refreshing as a fan to see Liverpool setting a new standard in player care. After years of cursing our injury luck, we're now looking at one of the best injury records in the league. The players are fitter, the team is more resilient, and that gives us a massive advantage going into the business end of the season. Keeping our best 11 on the pitch week in, week out means we can build the kind of consistency champions are made of. So here's to the unsung heroes, the doctors, physios, fitness coaches, and of course Slot himself. They reimagined Liverpool's approach to fitness and prevention. The payoff isn't just fewer doctors' visits, it could be silverware come May.